How's it going, everybody? My name's Andrew, and thanks again for tuning into Music Theory Logic. So, today I just wanted to digress a little bit and just rant for a second about, in my opinion, what value music has added to my life and potentially perhaps things that you could draw upon or find reasons to get closer to music. Um, so, for me, music has been in my life for a long time. For quite a bit in my life, it was just sort of an extra thing that I did. I was forced to go into piano lessons at a really young age. And around the age of 12, I convinced my dad to let me switch into guitar lessons. I had, in many ways, a terrible piano teacher, and in my eyes, someone who was instrumental in the way that I teach music. So the lessons that I had growing up, I remember piano feeling really rigid. It felt like I couldn't remember what the right things were to do. It felt like a lot of rules. It didn't feel creative. We were playing all classical music from a classical sort of method to teach piano, and no added popular music. And so, fast forward to today, I teach a lot of music lessons, and piano is one of the things that I teach. And one of my goals is to make any instrument as fun as possible, because there's definitely more specific and rigorous things that you can build, like technique, sight reading skills, vocabulary, maybe the ability to play music that you don't like as much that's beneficial on your skills. But all of that being said, I feel like there's always time to dive into the more serious things in music. And in the beginning, especially with younger students, my goal is to make somebody, fall in love with music, because going back to my story, as I fell more in love with music, there reached a point where it's like I almost wasn't able to progress anymore, aside from looking at things like technique and sight reading and playing other styles of music. And all of that was kind of forced to me through school really helped me a lot. So I got into guitar around 12. I again played through high school, but I was more into other things. I was focused on being a high schooler, playing sports, doing well in high school. I went to a competitive high school and getting into college and stuff like that. And then something happened to me at the end of my freshman year of college. My dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he would end up battling pancreatic cancer basically the whole time I was in college. And during that time period, I got deeper into music. I started some bands. I switched my major to be music as my primary area of study. I ended up graduating with a degree in music with an emphasis in classical composition. My dad was at my graduation, and unfortunately, he passed away the summer after I graduated. And that experience was something that really brought me closer to music, because in my mind, music was something that I knew I could do. I enjoyed listening to it, but it was just kind of something extra, something interesting, but didn't seem like as substantial as it did when I was dealing with my dad being sick. So I was in a really bad place for a bunch of different reasons. I got out of high school. I went to school as a freshman. I had a ton of fun. I made a lot of great friends. But then I came home, and this heavy thing happened with my dad's diagnosis that kind of shattered the way that I had viewed the world up until then. And I had this really formidable memory when I was leaving the hospital after he had his first major surgery. And I was in a really bad place. I was super sad. But then I started listening to Over the Hills and Far Away by Led Zeppelin. And my crying all of a sudden turned into joy, essentially, or this sort of like powerful release of that sadness that I've been feeling. And again, I had been playing music for quite a while, but I just, like, a light bulb went on, and in one moment I thought, there would be nothing cooler that I could do with my life than try to create that experience for other people, whether they're going through something bad or, eventually it was more like, to give them something interesting to do when they're having a good time, or perhaps just writing music for any sort of experience. And so when I look back on all the things that music has provided in my life, I'm really really grateful for all of that. And just to go through some of the things that I think if you commit yourself to music or the study and pursuit of playing music, regardless of what that brings career wise or anything like that, I think you'll develop patience and consistency. So one thing that you'll find if you're producing or if you're playing guitar or playing piano or violin or whatever area of music that you're in, you will find that it's challenging in the beginning. But if you are able to create a consistent practice plan and you sort of give yourself to that method, you're going to find that skills continue to develop. And what I found for myself is the more I do that, the more I realize that that state of maybe frustration because I can't do something as well as I want to in the moment, or feeling like I overwhelmed by what I'm trying to play, that I've gotten good at like getting out of my way and just committing to the method. And when you do that, you'll find that it's like water going down like a rock valley, that moment by moment nothing happens, but when you look back throughout an extended period of time, see that like the Grand Canyon is just created by water flowing, and water flowing over many many years creates a visible path, and in the case of the Grand Canyon, are very very visible from space. So I think musicianship, like a lot of different skills somebody can develop, so this stuff goes outside of music, but you'll be able to develop patience and consistency. Next, self-confidence, and this kind of goes into like social skills. So for me, there reached something when I had been playing guitar and piano and writing music and formed a band and practiced in garages. There came a point where I wanted to take that music outside of the garage and performing music. And performing music for me was something that was super nerve-wracking. I actually started performing music while my dad was still alive. So like as a sophomore in college, I started playing out with bands. Before I was 21, got the X's on the back of the hands, stuff like that at bars. But the first show I played, my dad came to, and I was so nervous that I didn't really even face the crowd. So my back was to the audience the whole time, and he gave me a hard time about that and said I needed to calm down. And I played hundreds, if not thousands of shows after that, and there reached a point where it wasn't even something that I was nervous about. I was excited to share what, again, I had been working on. I wanted to share, my Grand Canyon, if you will, with other people. And I found really quickly that music helped me to meet other people. I was a nervous guitar player, and I, like many people who want to become like rock stars, I met girls through music. I was able to talk to people that I didn't know, regardless of if they were a girl or not. Whereas previously I might be nervous, but now we have this thing to talk about, which is music and my obvious like passion for music by playing it. So it was really helpful. And I think for a lot of my peers in music, it's the same thing where like in the DJ world, a lot of the best producers might really be their most themselves in a dark studio with lots of cool gear. But just because of the way the business works, they end up DJing and playing clubs. And for a lot of them, you see them sort of blossom as human beings. And that's true for musicianship in general. Even if you're playing music and it's not performing like at a festival or anything like that, and you're playing guitar in a courtyard for your other high school friends to hear you, that takes a lot of courage. And the more you do that, the more you feel comfortable. The next thing is, if you do end up trying to make money in music, like I have, without a doubt, you will develop a lot of entrepreneurial skills. So something's happened not just to music, but to many different areas of business with the advancement of social media and the internet. It's the ability to connect directly with an audience. And part of the reason I'm doing these YouTube channels is I hope to connect with a lot of you out there that We may not have crossed paths before, but perhaps we have this common interest that is music. And whether you're a musician or making any art or product, in order to survive and make enough money, you have to connect with consumers, essentially, or you have to have employers. And music really requires you to have a bunch of different income sources and to be an advocate for yourself. And even if somebody's a signed artist, they're really a business themselves. In many ways, a label is like a bank or an investment bank. They'll perhaps provide management or resources that the artist or business in that analogy can't provide themselves. So, for instance, maybe they have tour managers that they will, connect with said artist, or maybe they have a publicist that is going to do the PR for said artist. But a lot of artists, by the time they're getting signed, in many cases, they have played lots of shows, they've put out music themselves, they've had social media. In a lot of cases, they have managers or a manager and an agent. The agent could be the person that connects that major label to them. So I think that if anyone that's surviving in music are some great entrepreneurs, and if you look at some of the most successful musicians, especially in the last 30 years, as music has become more do-it-yourself, people like Jay-Z or Kanye West come to mind, and like just brilliant entrepreneurs on their own. And I think a lot of the reason for that is that if you can make money with music, a product that provides literal value to someone, so music is subjective value, like I like this song, but this person, my friend, doesn't like the song. But if it's something like a coffee filter, like that's a product that if you make coffee and you like coffee, you need coffee filters. So again, my pursuit of music has definitely helped me to become more of an entrepreneur, which is something that I didn't really expect at all. And then finally, I'll leave you on this. It kind of circles back to what I said in the beginning, but music for me in times of darkness has really provided a sense of outlet. It's therapy. It's something that allows me to take whatever I'm thinking about, whether it's happy or sad, and to just create. And a lot of times that act of creating or the act of just pouring yourself into music to try to get into the flow zone really helps just make sense of this world that in many ways just doesn't make sense. That's kind of the age-old riddle about what's going on this planet. So I'll leave you with that existential worry, but hopefully you found this helpful. Really, to summarize it, I love music. If that's not obvious, I hope you love music. If you do love music, I'm telling you that there's all sorts of things you're going to benefit from going after music. So hopefully the rest of my content helps you to better create the music that you have in your imagination. And I hope you create some awesome stuff. And as always, share some music in the comments. If you found this helpful or interesting or whatever, you'd help me out by subscribing to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out and listening to me rant.